One of the principal bugbears of being on the road so much is the sheer waste of time and man hours, and the modern revolution of laptop computers and all this sort of stuff means that it is now possible to actually work, continue to produce, record, and edit albums whilst one is actually on the road. Here's a little insight into it all.
Scarcely 16 and a fella she was courting. Now she's 24 with a son and a daughter. Here I am at 44 and I've never had an offer, and it's oh dear me. How would it be if I died an old maid in the garret? I can cook and I can sew and I can keep a house right tidy. Rise up.
In Coventry, Warwickshire, there lurks the Dining Room Table Studio. What do we have on the Dining Room Table Studio? Well, firstly, we have some boxes full of bits and pieces, and in no particular order, we have the reason why contemporary recording is such a revolution these days. The small portable laptop computer, in this particular case a Mac, one of the least expensive ones, but has all the facilities for doing what's required. This particular Mac, and it doesn't have to be a Mac, by the way, it depends whether you want to use Logic Audio and or Final Cut. If you wish to use any of those softwares, then they're Mac exclusive. I actually, in fact, use Pro Tools most of the time, and I occasionally dip into those other two things. So if I was exclusively using Pro Tools, one could happily use a PC. I have no preference. Anyway, here on this particular little Mac laptop, we have the light versions of those three aforementioned softwares: light version of Pro Tools, light version of Logic Audio, light version of Final Cut. They all seem to work pretty well and in symbiosis on this computer. There's an awful lot of talk. People are constantly throughout life asking, what is the best thing to have? And I realised years ago that it's a nonsensical question, because most people will reply as to what is the best thing, the thing that they use. Now, again, in no particular order, I happen to have here a pair of Alesis M1 Active monitor speakers, which are self-powered small studio monitors. They're not better than anything else I've got, nor are they any worse than anything else I've got. I have 3 or 4 other pairs ranging from larger ones in the studio. Again, I can't state a preference. They do this particular job particularly well, and they don't cost very much money, and that is the point. Moving over, this little blue box down here, hiding behind the computer, is the audio interface, which is actually the Pro Tools audio interface. Most recording systems, whatever your preference, whether it be Pro Tools, Logic, Cubase, any of these particular things, really require external sound cards and external inputs which are outside of the computer. The computer's own inputs and outputs and op amps and stuff like that simply aren't generally good enough for recording. Pro Tools is exclusive for use with M-Box units. However, I suppose the useful thing about Logic Audio is that it will actually work with any external units. In fact, if you leave the M-Box plugged in and switch over to Logic Audio will in fact work with that as its external unit just as well. Lurking behind there, of course, is the little hard disk upon which all the music for this particular project, in this case the new forthcoming Isambarde album called Telling Tales. One of the things that a lot of people who get hold of a sort of very basic version of recording software and wonder why they have trouble trying to make it all work, whether their various computers freezing up, is the simple business that you do need to keep all your music files on an external hard drive of some kind, preferably through a FireWire input-output, for the very simple reason that it's all your computer can actually do to cope with everything that it has to do, let alone actually firing large amounts of audio information back and forth. So it's a really good idea if you don't try to do any recording using the same internal hard disk that all your software's on. Okay, simple as that.